Diablo 4 Endgame. This is the end of the game, by the way, in case anybody doesn't know. It looks so good, except what? Uh-oh.
Diablo 4 is just around the corner with its open beta, and I've been waiting for this game for quite some time, especially when I was at BlizzCon, I think in 2019, or was it 2020, when they dropped that crazy bat chest trailer.
Yeah, I never saw that. Oh, shit.
Then it was insane, and everyone in the crowd was kind of screaming and yelling because they just came off of the Diablo Immortal announcement.
This was... Man. I feel like in 20 years... everybody is still going to use this picture. Like, I don't think it's ever going to stop.
And a lot of people grew up with the Diablo 4 franchise.
I wonder if he got banned from fucking
Blizzard's
BlizzCon.
biggest title this year, but it's probably going to be one of their biggest titles in recent memory. So there's a lot riding on this game and a lot of excitement, not only because it's Diablo, but on top of that, it's introducing a lot of MMORPG elements within its endgame systems, which goes against some of the traditional ARPG elements that a lot of players actually enjoy. Now, with that being said, there are a lot of videos.
I don't think that, like, ARPGs and, like, the way that they play with other people, I don't think it's really been innovated that much. I hear that Lost Epoch does a good amount of innovation with that, but otherwise, we haven't really seen a lot of innovation, so it makes sense that they're trying to do new stuff
Out there right now that are hyping up Diablo 4's endgame, which it does look pretty good.
Diablo 4 is gearing up to be one of the greatest games of our lifetimes.
But in reality, these systems are nothing new in terms of what you've seen before in other ARPGs and RPGs, specifically MMORPGs. So I'm going to be breaking down these systems rather quickly. I'll have links down below so you can go through all the information yourself.
It's going to be good, guys.
Dig a little bit deeper.
It's going to be good.
But more importantly, is in this video, for those of you that do know about all of these endgame systems, I want to talk about kind of the gamble that Blizzard is really taking with Diablo 4. I'm not going to give you the gotcha, look, Diablo Immortal, right? I'm going to actually talk about something that I think a lot of people are looking past, and what I think may end up either really working out for D4 as a title, or again, might backfire for Blizzard if they don't capture a specific audience with this game. So
I think that it doesn't matter to me what happens with Diablo 4 as long as they keep trying to innovate the game beyond the release. Because one issue that I think Blizzard has had in the past is that once they release something and it's out, it's like impossible for them to change anything. Like they can't just be like, oh yeah, it's not working out, well let's go change this. This is what they have to do. Like they have to, if shit is not working, they need to get new shit. And that's something that never happened.
That being said, let's hop into the video. The first thing you're going to encounter is the world tier system.
Yeah.
The world tier system is literally just a difficulty tier. You have two available at the start, world tier 1, world tier 2. World tier 1 being easy, world tier 2 probably being a bit more of a medium
being also easy probably because, I mean, like, let's be honest, like, Blizzard's not actually going to make the leveling experience hard.
Difficulty, and as you progress through the game and once you reach level 50, you'll be able then to unlock world tier 3, 4, and 5. And in order to do that, after reaching level 50, you'll have to complete a various...
This is the same system that they have in Diablo Immortal, kind of, where, like, after you get a certain Paragon level, like, different levels of Hell get unlocked, and you can do higher tier stuff that gives better gear.
Dungeon or specific dungeon within the game on the current hardest difficulty, and if you're able to do that, the mobs and the world become a little bit more difficult around you, but you'll then receive better loot. So that's the trade-off. You'll just want to progress as fast as you can because some...
Yeah, and they also had this in Diablo 3. They called it originally Monster Level, and then they called it Torment after that with Rifts. So yeah, this has been something in Diablo 3 as well.
Systems are also tied behind these difficulty tiers. Now, once you reach level 50, you will also encounter the Paragon board system, which is another one of those galaxy brain maps that you've seen in other ARPGs, where you make selections for various effects, resistances, stats.
No, you don't. You just look it up online and click the buttons that the internet guy tells you to. But yeah.
And even legendary powers. Now, this system begins at level 50, and you will earn 4 Paragon points per level up to level 100.
Okay.
And there's even going to be these other Paragon boards that can attach to the existing one that you have, and you can just turn them and rotate them to create different routes. It looks extremely confusing, but in reality, someone online will probably make a build for you that you will end up copying, because that's what most people do. However, I do see this.
Yeah, that's my advice with like all these like really complicated systems is don't even try to figure it out. Don't even try. Like look it up, see what other people do, and then just do that. And like any new person that plays PoE, I always tell them look up and copy a build guide. Just copy a build guide. Don't think for yourself. Trust me. Believe me how bad of a mistake thinking for yourself is going to be. Trust me, I've made the same mistake. And then because like people will always deviate, a little bit from it, and you'll learn why that deviation is bad. And like for me, I learn more things by fucking them up than by doing them right. So it's like, well, why don't they just use this item? And then I use it and it doesn't work. They're like, oh, that's why.
System being something that could be great for people that like to theory craft and create their own builds, and then will then post online, and then you will follow. Overall, it's an endgame progression system that will reward you as you level up and progress through the game. And I think it seems pretty cool in theory, but we'll have to see how it actually plays out, because there isn't a ton of information yet.
That's
now,
right.
Unlike other Diablo titles and other ARPG games, Diablo 4 will offer more open world content. It will be a little bit less linear than your traditional ARPG. The open world...
It's an open world ARPG. I mean, again, this is something they tried with Diablo Immortal, and it was actually one of the better things about Diablo Immortal, is that they had an open world that players could interact with each other in and see each other in. And this was always a complaint that I had with Path of Exile. Not the fact that they didn't have an open world, but the fact that whenever you went into like Lion's Watch or, like the Act 2 area, like maybe you'd see a handful of people, but there were no real cities and you couldn't inspect players. I wish you could inspect people, right? Especially in a game that's so fixated around loot.
Content, most of it outside of the gathering element and the world boss element falls underneath the renown system. And you are probably familiar with the word renown if you played World of Warcraft in recent years. The renown system is actually very similar to Lost Ark's zone completion system, and that's
I just want to remind you guys, basically with all of these right here, these content lists in Lost Ark, I have all of these numbers. It doesn't say 40% on mine, it says 100. I have 100 on all of these, except for South Vern. I'm missing one cooking ingredient. And other than that, I have 100 on every single one. I have the golden horse and everything. So it's not a big deal. I just figured I'd mention it just because, we're on the topic.
What it is. When you go through a zone, there'll be different objectives, viewpoints, strongholds to complete. They make them seem like it's going to be this like exploration. You'll go into some dark cave and find something. But you guys know that shit's going to be fucking... That's going to be min-maxed to all hell. There'll be guides everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to go around to Altars of Lilith. You're going to go through...
For me, like, I think that I just want to play the game and have fun. Like, I'm not going to try to, like, speed level to 25 or to 100 whenever the game comes out. I'm just going to try to play the game and enjoy myself and do the campaign and try stuff out. Like, I don't need to rush to max level. I'll run out of content soon enough. We don't need to rush it. It's going to happen anyway.
These strongholds, go through these dungeons, stronghold giving you the most renown to progress through the zone, and by doing that, you will then earn either character-specific progression or account-wide progression like skill points, so that when you make a new character in the future, it will be a little bit easier. You're going to want to go do all of that stuff, but that's something that's a little bit different than in previous Diablo titles, this open world element and exploration. Very similar to Lost Ark zone completion, almost a copy pasta in that way, which isn't a bad thing, but it is
No, I don't think so at all. And again, they beta tested this with Diablo Immortal, and I think that it worked pretty well with Diablo Immortal, except for like the respawns were kind of shit.
That you'll probably be familiar with. Now, as you progress through the game, there's also going to be a system called Whispers of the Dead, and this is a rephrased bounty system, or even World Quest emissary system if you played WoW as well. Bounty if you played D3. There's just these little world quests that will pop up and rotate throughout the day on the map, and if you complete them, you'll get a...
Yeah, Lost Ark has this exact same thing.
currency that you can then exchange at a vendor for some juice. And you'll also, from what we understand currently, you can exchange them or earn nightmare sigils, which is a pretty key currency in how the endgame loop will work. This bounty system or Whispers of the Dead system or World Quest system will be available during the open beta at the start, whereas when the game actually launches, you'll have to unlock them later on in the game. So you will get a chance to see what it actually plays like, but it's nothing new and nothing that you haven't seen before. Now, there also is this system.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably you're going to walk into a zone and it's going to be like, kill 12 bats. And then you do it and like Deckard Cain, well, no, I guess he's dead. You know, fucking Inarius is going to be like, well done, champion. And then that's it.
Called Hell Tides. This will not be available to us on the beta like the Whispers of the Dead will or their World Quest system will. Hell Tides is something that you unlock at World Tier 3, and it's just a world event system that will pop up on the map. You've seen world events in a lot of other games that you've played before, and you'll earn various shit for doing them. You're gonna want to do them. Now, previously,
I think all this stuff is good. I feel like there's a lot of people that are gonna look at this and they're gonna say, wow, this looks like every other fucking thing in every other game. Oh, wow. How innovative. They're adding the same system that they had in a video game from 6 years ago. I can't believe this. This is crazy. It's gonna change gaming. I think that, again, I don't need a new wheel. Like Elden Ring, most of the things in Elden Ring were in Dark Souls already, or Sekiro, or Bloodborne. But it was still really, really good. So I don't need them to reinvent another wheel. Just make the same wheel, but make it go even faster.
Mentioned nightmare sigils, and this is where like the real, I would say, end game loop begins. In Diablo 4, nightmare dungeons and dungeons are essentially rifts from Diablo 3 and maps from Path of Exile, rather than being a portal.
This is what I worry about right here. Is this content becoming bland as a motherfucker? Just being so tired. Like you do the same dungeons over and over and over, and they look the same, they play the same. This is what I am worried about.
That you go through and you talk to an NPC. It'll be a physical place in the world, and with your nightmare sigils, you can upgrade the difficulty of these dungeons. You will have been through most of these dungeons already to unlock.
So what is this, like Adziri fragments or some shit? Like, I mean, like, yeah, there's like a divine blessing. Yeah, I get this. Okay, cool.
Renown in the specific areas, but they will be enhanced versions of that, and depending on the nightmare sigil that you use, the different tier of nightmare sigil that you use is how many affixes will be apparent in that dungeon. And I think that's why some people are drawing the comparison to World of Warcraft. I don't see the comparison there.
No, I think it's much more like Path of Exile's map system, where you can decide, like, you're effectively adding affixes to the map, and then you decide what those affixes are to an extent, and then you run the map with those affixes. Sure, it's like you have like your map, like, you know, you have your map machine, and you can add like fucking betrayal, like breach, shit like that.
It's similar to what you've seen in the past.
Great message.
The higher difficulty tier of the dungeon that you do, the better loot that you will receive, the more dust that you have, and you exchange at the vendor, the more gold that you have, and you exchange at the vendor, the better tier of nightmare sigil you will get, the harder the dungeon's going to be. The difference is that in D4, it's a physical place, and there are also going to be monster types, specific monster types, 1 to 2 depending on the dungeon, that is apparent in that dungeon. And monster types in Diablo 4 have a higher chance of dropping specific types of gear. So if you're...
I think this is kind of good. It's like good and bad. It depends on what happens. So the problem with this is that if there's a certain type of monster type that just has a higher drop chance of an extremely rare or extremely good item, everybody is only going to farm that very rare or very good item, and so they're all going to be killing the same type of monsters. So that's actually not good. That's like not good design. So like Blizzard has had a very bad track record with being able to, what's really the best way to say this? Being able to like have a consistent reward structure among different types of content. I feel like with a lot of Blizzard games, there's like that one thing that's like just far and away better than everything else, and if you're not doing it, you're stupid. And I really hope that doesn't happen with this.
Looking to target a specific item or an item slot, you might go to try to farm a dungeon to receive that pair of pants, weapon, shoulders, gloves. You get the point, right? And that really is the end.
And by the way, I think this is a great idea. I like the idea. I just worry about the implementation of the idea. Because if you have something, and like, I apologize, like I'm going to be using a lot of no, yeah, I think that we should be fine. I'll just give it a second. Is we good? Is we good or not? You're good? All right. So, anyway, what was I going to say? Oh my God. Let me go back.
Go to try to farm a dungeon.
Right. Okay. So about like farming dungeons for specific items. I really like the idea of farming specific dungeons for specific items. Yes, it can be boring every tier, and that's what's bad. But I like the idea of it. But my worry is that there's going to be a dungeon inside of Diablo 4 that's going to drop the equivalent of Headhunter and Mageblood. That's what the issue is. Because, like, for example, you should have let's just theorize this, right? So, like, you should have something that drops a Headhunter. You should have something that drops a Mageblood, something that drops Bottled Faith, something that drops synthesized items. You know, I guess, you know, in PoE, this is the same thing, but you know what I mean. Like, something that drops a lot of really high-level rare items. Like, you should have a way for people to decide what they want to farm, but there are different advantages for farming each one, and avoid the situation where one mode of farming is just so far and away better than everything else that you're stupid for not doing it.
To receive that pair of pants, weapon, shoulders, gloves, you get the point,
exactly, right? Yes. Why D2 is total random is good, but ultra grindy. Totally random isn't good, though. Because, and I saw this comment, I want to respond to this. Totally random means you farm the areas with the highest monster density. You understand? So, like, that doesn't actually solve the problem.
And that really is the end game loop to Diablo 4. It's going to be doing these world events that pop up, doing these bounties that pop up, and then just spamming rifts or spamming nightmare dungeons.
Yeah.
And that is really what they haven't really been talking a lot about, but that is going to be the end game loop. Now,
and I'm gonna be real, like, if they just go and spam rifts and nightmare dungeons the entire time with Diablo 4, yeah, it's not a big deal for the first season because the game just came out. Maybe the second season as well. But, like, if you expect people to tune in and fucking show up to do this season 13, miss me with that bullshit. Like, I'm just gonna go fucking do something else. So, yeah, that's what I'm kind of worried about.
I have a lot of friends that are pretty big into ARPGs, and I've been doing a lot of browsing, and many people are worried about the restrictions of the trade, the simplification of itemization, adding in these extra MMORPG elements.
I think the MMO elements are great. I think they are a huge improvement, just theoretically. I haven't really played them, but I think that theoretically, and what I saw of Diablo Immortal and what I like about Lost Ark, I think that this is a universal good.
Takes a lot of time, adding in these open world elements, these world bosses, and those aren't the things traditionally that people play ARPGs for. But for someone like me that's just more of an MMORPG Andy, I don't really notice all of that shit. In fact, I don't really care, and I know I'm gonna have a good time with my friends anyway, and I like a lot of these elements being added into the game because it's just the type of games that I enjoy. And so really, this is the game.
Yeah, it's the way I feel about it too, is like, I just want to play the game with my friends and have fun. Like, that's it. Yeah, I just want to have fun, play the game. I don't give a fuck about anything else.
That Blizzard is taking with Diablo 4, whether people realize it or not. I don't think it's the monetization. I don't think it's Diablo Immortal.
Yeah.
I think it's that they're trying to add in these extra elements while simplifying the game overall to be more accessible to a larger audience. Game companies do this quite a bit.
Diablo 4 being simplified to appeal to a larger audience. Whenever I played Diablo 3 loot wasn't that complex. Does it have attack speed? Okay. Does it have a crit chance? Okay. Does it have crit damage? Yes. Okay, good job. You just made $100 on the Real Money Auction House. There you go. It's that simple. I mean, it really wasn't that complicated. Yeah, it was simple. And again, I don't think that's a bad thing. Because there are a lot of people that don't want to sit there and figure out 17 different stat interactions. And I will say it. I think that PoE has too much bloat. I think that there are a number of things that could happen, like stats that can be combined, or they could be at least easier to understand. It's like there is no reason. I think the best example of this is there is no reason in the English language or in any other sense of the functionality of the two words that more would be multiplicative and less would be additive. Or sorry, more and plus percentage. You know? And so, yeah, nearby, stuff like that. Yeah, nearby, what the fuck is this? So just get rid of that stuff and just keep the thing increased. Yeah, more and increased. I don't know why I was drawing a blank on that. Yeah, more and increased. Exactly. People are going to read that and they're going to think it's the same thing. It doesn't make sense.
Look at a genre that is in theory very fun, but they try to invite as many people as possible into them to take advantage of the genre as a whole. You see this with games like Dota and League of Legends in the past, and it's worked out great for Riot. They took something that was maybe a little bit too intimidating, they made it a bit more understandable to the average player, and then as the game progressed and you're left with that more core audience, which is just how games progress in general, you're left with that core audience, and then you start sprinkling in more systems, more complex elements into the game to satisfy your current and existing audience and keeping the game a bit more fresh. But there are examples of when you try to simplify a genre and make it more available to people where it actually backfires. And you can look at that same MOBA genre with like League of Legends and Dota and then compare that to Heroes of the Storm. By removing some of those key elements that make the game fun,
I think that one of the big reasons why Heroes of the Storm failed is that everybody was already invested into Dota and League. And the MOBA genre was already oversaturated. People already had put thousands of hours into it and they didn't want to play a new MOBA. It was too late. Yeah, they got into it way too late.
You then end up kind of taking away what makes the genre fun in general. And if you don't attract that general audience and the game does just boil down to you spamming these nightmare dungeons over and over and over again, and people find that not that, enjoyable, you may end up not grasping that audience and then alienating the audience that you initially designed the game for, and the people that have been waiting for Diablo 4 for quite some time now. Now, the developers have been keeping the endgame loop pretty tight to the chest, and I tried my best to explain the endgame loop and what we know so far. However,
my concern with the endgame loop for Diablo 4 is that it will be running a procedurally generated dungeon with about 35 different variables that can occur 3 different times. So you have like 35 dice rolls, or sorry, a dice roll that has 35 outcomes, and you do it 3 to 5 times per instance of gameplay. That is what I am extremely worried about. Like PoE? No, not like PoE. No.
However, there will be a developer live stream following the beta and open beta weekend to kind of break down these systems further. And this has pros and cons to it, right? Them not disclosing the end game loop and breaking it down further in terms of the itemization and how it will actually work.
There's a good chance that they don't really know how the end game loop is going to work yet because they're waiting to see how players react to it, which I think is fine. Like, I mean, this is how every game is that most of the time, whenever a game gets released, especially like a live service game like this, the developers don't really have that good of an idea what it's supposed to be, and then they just make it better over time. So, like, as long as they're changing things and making adaptations based off of what people are saying, then it's going to be fine.
Great in the idea that, well, people won't data mine the ever-living shit out of it too early and figure everything out. You can look at New World, for example, where you could pretty much play the entire game before it came out. And even in Lost Ark, it kind of sucks ass when people just know everything about the game before you even get your hands on it. It's not very fun in terms of the discovery element and figuring out how the game works overall. And it actually shortens the gameplay time quite a bit.
I agree with that because everybody knows exactly how to metagame. One of the cool things about Elden Ring was before the game came out, nobody really knew a lot about it. Like, yeah, there were a few videos, there were some network tests, etc. But like many of the tools for the game were not just as readily accessible as, let's say things are for a new WoW patch. And I think this is what happened for Final Fantasy 2, is that like keeping things like that away from the public and not having a test realm, I think is good. Most of the time. Not always, but most of the time.
But people are going to do that anyways, right? Let's not kid ourselves, right? There's already guides on the internet.
Oh, yeah.
There's already max roll guides, Wowhead guides, and even in this video and other videos that you'll find on YouTube where they're just breaking down all of the endgame systems. And you're here right now watching this video because you're curious about the endgame systems. So that's the benefit to it. However, in the same light, by not disclosing all of these things, it's kind of a marketing tactic, right? They offer you certain things that you earn for pre-purchasing the game. You get to play the beta ahead of...
I don't know if it's really a marketing technique, but I do think that unless Diablo 4, there is a world where the people that are making Diablo 4 know that no matter what they say about the end game, people will interpret it in a bad way. So if they make the end game like PoE, they're copying PoE, and if they make the end game like Diablo 3, then the game is bad. So it's like, yeah, I can see where they're coming from with like not talking about it a lot. But at the same time, I do think they should have at least an idea of what it's going to be, because I guess to me, they need to put something out there soon. That way the players can actually give feedback for it.
Time you get to play the game 4 days early, which is essentially the actual launch date of the game. And who's not going to want to play the game when it actually releases with their boys, right? Like, you're going to want to play the game,
bro. Like, imagine being poor and not buying the game to play it early for 4 days, like just for no reason. Absolutely.
4 days early, and in order to do that,
yeah, I mean,
you're gonna have to spend $90, not the $70, the $90, the $90 price tag, and you'll also be able to have access to that, season pass element to the game.
Yeah, imagine not having the Battle Pass Elite Deluxe Hell version edition,
which is another form of monetization. And you know what I'm talking about, man. You're going to want to buy some of them skins, right? You know they're going to be dropping these skins that are going to look better than anything else in the game. And you're going to...
I will say that, like, some of the skins in-game did look pretty cool, so I'm not completely out on in-game skins. As long as there's, like, one or two cool in-game skins, I'll be kind of happy.
I want some of them skins, man. I mean, who doesn't want to get a pretty good skin, right? So that's an extra. Well,
the reason why they're doing it is because it makes money. Like, you can get mad about the early start, and I think you're fair to get mad. It's fair to be mad about this, but it works. That's why they do it. They wouldn't do it if it didn't work.
Maybe 20, 30 bones. So it's a pretty expensive game. Now, for someone like me, I'm going to get my money's worth because I'm going to go in there and have a blast with my boys, and I'm going to enjoy the game for what it is. But for someone that's looking for not, a few hundred hours out of the game, they're looking for 5, 6, 7,000 hours out of the game. You might be a little bit more hesitant, especially depending on where you...
I think that if you're going to go into a video game and like you're planning on spending 5,000 hours into a video game, that is a fucking mental disorder. Like, there's no way that a game... You can't know that beforehand. Like, what is wrong with you? And like playing a game for 5,000 hours is fine. I think that's normal. But like planning this ahead of time is nuts, man. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it. I'm saying that, like, you shouldn't decide that before it comes out. You should make that decision on a daily basis. Am I having fun with this game? Because there's so many people, and I know these people, and I used to be one of them with World of Warcraft. They pressure themselves into continuing to play a game that they don't like, that they're being frustrated by constantly. They don't like the current direction of the game, but they keep playing it because in their mind, they've decided that they play this game. I find it to be very unhealthy.
Because, you know, $100+ is a lot of money in certain areas. So my advice to you is to play the beta weekend for free, wait for that developer live stream to further break down the endgame systems, and make your decision based on what they offer during that live stream. Because it is an expensive game overall, but it is a game that looks gorgeous for what it is, and I know I'm going to be having fun. I don't have to play D2R where it fucking looks like Factorio and 20. I don't want to play that. You know what I mean? I want to play something that looks a little bit more modern. I love modern game launches. But most importantly, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, because I'm really curious to hear what you guys think about the game. If you're someone that's grown up with the Diablo franchise, you're going to have a blast. If you're someone that's very big into ARPGs, are you happy about some of the stuff that they've been hinting at in terms of the itemization, the restrictions of trade, and these MMO elements that they're adding into the game to attract this larger audience? Is that something that you're looking forward to, or are you hesitant to purchase the game until they release more information on it because they have been keeping it close to the chest? Let me know your...
I think that you should wait. If you haven't already pre-ordered the game and you are not certain about playing the game, I think that you should watch today, watch me, somebody else, whatever, watch videos, or wait for release, and watch people that play the game. Watch the game. And if the game looks good, then maybe you should try it. But if it doesn't look good, you should not buy it.
Your thoughts, give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and then also reach up with your little mouse, man, press that subscribe button, okay? It's free and it helps me out a lot. I'd really appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Guys, in the next one. Peace.
This is actually the most normal Lost Ark player. I know people might not know this, but this is what Lost Ark does to you. This guy used to play Shadowlands, World of Warcraft. That's what happens. There it is. Wait, didn't somebody get me this exact same cat maid girl outfit? I recognize it. Yeah, because I still have the ears. Where are they? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I have the exact same ears. Holy fuck. Yeah, he actually has the exact same ones. Oh my god, that's... Damn, I never knew that's the way you looked like wearing it in real life. Wow. It's the exact same fucking outfit. Yeah, anyway, it's the Stoops video. Go ahead, give it a like. Link it to you guys. Y'all do the same if you liked it. And did you like the video? Yeah, I did. I thought it was a good video. I feel like it's a pretty fair, what's the word for it? It's a pretty fair assessment. Does that make sense? Yeah, every streamer should have cat ears? Absolutely, I think so. So yeah, it's like, I think that it's like, yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's so hard to know what the game is actually going to be like until you play it for like a long period of time. And this is one of the issues that like even reviews have, is like there are a lot of games that like the game is so good for like the first 20 hours, and then after that, then it becomes a problem. After that, then it becomes a situation. And that's what I kind of I get concerned about the most, is whenever there's not that type of consistency. And this is what happened with New World. I think New World was probably the biggest example of this. Let's see over here. We'll go ahead and we'll look at something else, because actually the game's going to be coming out very, very soon. And I am excited. It's going to be a lot more fun than just being mad.
I trip.